Welcome back to the channel, where every story touches the heart and leaves you thinking long after it ends. Today's story is one of courage, coincidence, and a moment that changed two lives forever. It was a cold, unforgiving evening. The sky had turned an eerie shade of gray, and the wind howled like it carried 1,000 untold stories. Rain lashed against rooftops, trees bent under pressure, and the roads were nearly deserted. The kind of storm that makes people rush home, or wish they already were. Daniel Clark stood by the window of his modest house, staring out at the chaos. His daughter, Emma, sat on the couch behind him, wrapped in a blanket, clutching her favorite stuffed bear. "Dad, is the storm going to break the house?" she asked softly. Daniel turned, forcing a smile. "Not a chance, kiddo. This house is tougher than it looks." But truthfully, he wasn't so sure. The roof had been patched more times than he could count, and the old wooden windows rattled with every gust of wind. Still, it was their home, and it was all he could afford after losing his wife 3 years ago. Life hadn't been easy since then. Juggling two jobs, raising Emma alone, and trying to keep everything together, Daniel had learned to survive, not dream. Just as he turned back to the window, headlights cut through the darkness outside. A car pulled up slowly, struggling against the storm. It skidded slightly before coming to a stop just a few feet from his front yard. Daniel frowned. Who would be out in this weather? He grabbed his jacket. "Stay here, Emma. Don't open the door for anyone but me." Emma nodded nervously. Daniel stepped outside, immediately drenched by the rain. The wind nearly pushed him back as he made his way toward the car. Inside, a woman sat gripping the steering wheel. Her face was pale, her hair soaked, and her expression filled with exhaustion and fear. Daniel knocked on the window. She hesitated, then slowly rolled it down. "Are you okay?" he shouted over the storm. I think my car broke down," she replied, her voice trembling. "It just stopped, and my phone has no signal." Daniel glanced around. The road was empty. No help in sight. "You can't stay here," he said. "It's not safe. Come inside. At least until the storm passes." She looked at him, uncertain. In a world where trust was rare, especially in moments like this, her hesitation was understandable. But another gust of wind rocked the car. Finally, she nodded. Daniel helped her out, shielding her as best as he could as they hurried into the house. Emma peeked from behind the couch as the door opened. "Dad, it's okay, Emma," Daniel said gently. "We have a guest." The woman stepped in, looking around the small, worn living room. It wasn't much, but it was warm, and it felt safe. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I didn't know what else to do." "You did the right thing," Daniel replied. "I'm Daniel. This is my daughter, Emma." "I'm Sarah," she said. Emma gave a shy wave. "Hi." Sarah smiled faintly. "Hi, Emma." Daniel handed her a towel. "You should dry off. I'll make some tea." As Sarah sat down, she couldn't help but notice the simplicity of the house. The old furniture, the patched walls, the faint hum of a heater that sounded like it had seen better days. Yet, there was something else. Warmth. Not just from the heater, but from the way Daniel spoke to his daughter, from the small drawings taped to the walls, from the sense of love that filled the space. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. "Here," Daniel said, handing her a steaming cup. "Thank you." They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the storm rage outside. "You live here alone?" Sarah asked. "Just me and Emma," Daniel said. "Her mom passed away a few years ago." Sarah's expression softened. "I'm sorry." Daniel shrugged lightly. "You learn to keep going." Sarah looked down at her tea. "I understand that more than you think." Emma scooted closer. "Do you have kids?" Sarah hesitated, then nodded. "Yes. A son." "Where is he?" "At home, with a babysitter," she said quietly. Daniel noticed the flicker of worry in her eyes. "He'll be okay," he said reassuringly. She nodded, though her grip on the cup tightened. Time passed slowly. The storm showed no signs of stopping. As the hours went by, something unexpected began to happen. Conversation. Simple at first, cautious. But then deeper. They talked about life, about struggles, about the things people don't usually share with strangers. Daniel spoke about working long hours, about missing important moments in Emma's life because he had no choice. Sarah listened, really listened. And then, for the first time in a long time, she opened up. About the pressure of her job. About the loneliness that came with success. About raising a child while constantly being pulled in 100 directions. Daniel didn't know what she did for a living. Not yet. To him, she was just another person trying to survive. It's strange, Sarah said at one point. You can be surrounded by people all day, and still feel completely alone. Daniel nodded. Yeah, I get that. Emma eventually fell asleep on the couch, her small hand still holding her bear. Daniel gently placed a blanket over her. Sarah watched, something stirring in her chest. You're a good father, she said softly. Daniel smiled. I try. The storm continued through the night. And by morning, everything had changed. Sunlight broke through the clouds, casting a golden glow over the quiet neighborhood. The storm was gone. Sarah stepped outside, looking at her car. Daniel joined her. I'll take a look, he said. After a few minutes, he managed to identify the issue. It's the battery. Probably got flooded. Can it be fixed? Temporarily, he said. Enough to get you somewhere safe. With a bit of effort, Daniel got the car running. Sarah looked at him, relief washing over her. I don't know how to thank you. You already did, he said. You trusted me. She smiled. Still, I'd like to repay you somehow. No need, Daniel said. Just, take care. She paused. At least let me know where you work. Daniel hesitated. I do maintenance work, downtown office building. Which one? He mentioned the name. And for a split second, Sarah's expression changed. Surprise. Recognition. But she quickly hid it. Maybe I'll see you around, she said. Maybe, Daniel replied. She got into her car, hesitated, then drove away. Daniel watched until she disappeared. He didn't know it yet. But that moment would change his life forever. 2 days later, Daniel walked into work like any other day. Tools in hand, mind focused on the tasks ahead. Until he heard whispers. Unusual tension in the air. The CO is coming today. Everyone's on edge. Daniel frowned. CO. He didn't pay much attention. People like that lived in a different world. Or so he thought. Hours later, he was called upstairs. Maintenance needed in the executive office. Daniel wiped his hands and made his way up. The higher floors were different. Cleaner, quieter, intimidating. He knocked on the door. Come in. He stepped inside. And froze. There she was. Sarah. Standing by the window, dressed in a sharp suit, completely different from the woman he had met in the storm. Confident. Powerful. Unrecognizable, yet unmistakably the same. Daniel's eyes widened. You. Sarah turned, a small smile forming. Hello, Daniel. He struggled to find words. You're the CO. She nodded. Yes. Silence filled the room. Memories of that night rushed back. The storm. The tea. The conversations. It didn't make sense. Why didn't you tell me? He finally asked. Sarah walked closer. Would it have changed anything? Daniel paused. Maybe. Exactly, she said gently. And I didn't want it to. She looked at him. That night, you helped me without knowing who I was. Without expecting anything in return. Daniel shifted awkwardly. Anyone would have done the same. She shook her head. No, they wouldn't have. Another silence. But this one felt different. Heavier. Meaningful. I've been thinking about that night, Sarah continued. About your life, your struggles, your daughter. Daniel's expression hardened slightly. I don't need charity. I know, she said quickly. This isn't charity. She took a breath. It's opportunity. She explained how she wanted to offer him a better position. A stable job. Better pay. Regular hours. A chance to actually be there for Emma. Daniel listened, conflicted. It sounded too good to be true. Why me? He asked. Because I trust you, she said simply. That word hit him harder than anything else. Trust. Something built in the middle of a storm. Something real. Days passed. Daniel thought about it constantly. About the risks. About the possibilities. About Emma. Finally, he said yes. And everything began to change. Months later, life looked different. Daniel had a steady job. Emma was happier. Their home felt lighter. And Sarah, she became a regular part of their lives. Not as a CO, but as someone who understood them. Someone who had once been a stranger in the storm. And found something she didn't even know she was looking for. One evening, as they sat together, Emma looked up and smiled. That storm was scary, but I'm glad it happened. Daniel and Sarah exchanged a glance. Sometimes, the most unexpected moments lead to the most extraordinary changes. And sometimes, all it takes is one act of kindness to change everything.